Yes, I'm Batman.
I'm Batman. I'm Batman, Alfred.
I'm Batman.
I am Batman!
I'm Batman. I'm Batman.
Greetings, Bat Family, and welcome back to Holy BatCast, brought to you by Real Fans for Real Movies. As always, visit our website, holybatcast.com, and find us all over social media on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, and YouTube. Just search for Holy BatCast. We're also on Patreon, so if you want to do that, you can go to patreon.com/holybatcast. And we're a proud part of the Real Fans Podcast Network, so if you're looking for other things to listen to, you can check out all the shows there at rf4rm.com. Lots of good stuff to listen to. As always, I'm your host, Andy DiGenova. You can follow me on Twitter or on Instagram. It's just my name, Andy DiGenova. Now, this episode, we're not going to be discussing much. There's not much happening, so Brendan and I just missed each other, and so we're just going to sit in silence with each other for about 45 minutes or so, and then, we'll log off. That's it. And we just figured we'd force you guys to listen. No,
it's being together alone.
It's the togetherness, right? That's ridiculous. Of course, something big has happened in the past hour or so, and so we're doing this emergency podcast. It is the middle of the night for Brendan, but God bless him, he is up. We're going to talk about Zack Snyder and Henry Cavill and the Man of Steel live stream and HBOMax and you know what else. So, Brendan, you are up late. What time is it for you?
It is currently 4:56 a.m. Let me tell you a story.
Oh, okay.
Strap in, guys. We're going to go
That's
back
why
4
people are
years.
listening, because they want to hear your stories.
We're going to go
Who are
back
you,
4
Michael
years
Lyons?
Yeah. 6 years to May, this very month in 2014. And I think it was like 1 or 2 o'clock in the morning over here. And I woke up for no reason whatsoever and was just like, Zack was dropping that photo of the Batmobile at some stage. I wonder if that's happened yet. Picked up my phone and the Batfleck photo had just dropped and the internet melted down, as you can well remember. Mm-hmm. The same thing happened actually just short of an hour ago. I woke up for no reason. It hadn't long gone 4 a.m. I looked at my phone and I'm not kidding. The news had literally just dropped, like it had just been announced on the live stream. So my geek vibes are strong. I'm telling you, because these things bring me out of my slumber.
That's impressive. You have like geek spidey sense.
I must do.
That's impressive.
So yeah, it's weird.
Yeah. Well, because even when I messaged you and you were responding, I was like, wait, what the hell time is it there? I was really mixed up. And you're like, oh no, I just woke up. It was like you sensed a disturbance in the force.
Yeah, I'll get it out the way early so it'll make it easy for you. But I'm sorry in advance, but I need to say, holy like, who? Damn
it! I don't even have a piece of paper to write down when you said that. That's how ramshackle this podcast is. I'm in my pajamas. Yeah. I have not showered. I smell great.
I can't believe we're about to have this discussion. So, yeah.
Well, help me remember. 3 minutes and 30 seconds. Oh, Brendan, I should have known not to trust you. I actually set an alarm. So because of the nature of the world, I'm still in Florida and I'm working with China. And so I work very late and then I go to bed very late, which means I sleep very late. But today I actually set the alarm to wake up so I could watch the Zack Snyder Man of Steel watch party live. Because for BVS, if you remember, I overslept. And so I didn't get to watch it live. I had to watch it later. And so this time I'm like, no, this time setting the alarm. I'm going to have my coffee in bed. I'm going to watch it in bed live. So I did that. And I did it, yes, because I wanted to watch Man of Steel with Zack Snyder, obviously. But over the past couple of days, rumors had been swirling to the point where it got so loud where I'm like, oh, there's got to be something there. There's got to be fire with this much smoke. And so the internet, or at least the fan community, felt very strongly that at the end of this Man of Steel watch party that there would be an announcement for Zack Snyder's Justice League and a release on HBO Max. So there have been a lot of rumors over the past few days of that. Nothing firm, obviously, because they wanted to make an official announcement. To the point where I was getting emails of like, hey, do you know anything about this? And I was like, no, I don't. All I know is that with this much talk, I really hope that this is what's going to happen. I really hope this is finally happening. And so, yes, I wanted to watch Man of Steel, but if there was an announcement, I wanted to be there live when it happened. So, yeah, I watched it from bed with my coffee, watched the whole damn thing, and then as soon as this happened, I immediately was like, hey, can you guys record? And you, God bless you, you're up in the middle of the night. And Jamie is working. So he will share his thoughts on the next regular episode of Holy BatCast. But this is a huge deal. And I wanted us to talk about it, like get our initial reactions of this announcement and what we're going to be seeing. So I know you were sleeping, so you did not watch the Man of Steel live stream.
No, I didn't. So you'll need to catch me up. Essentially, all I know is the stream was happening. I was hoping to catch it, later on, like I did with the Justice League one.
You mean Batman versus Superman?
Sorry, BVS.
You've got Justice League on the brain. That's weird.
It's weird. Hey, I know that Cavill showed up at the end.
Yeah.
And I sort of know how it was announced. Our friend Philip we were messaging at the same time as you and I, and he kind of gave me the rundown a little bit, but you watched it live, so fill me in. Okay,
so yeah, I did watch it live, and I will say it was very similar to what we got with the BVS watch party. He had his storyboard books, and he shared some storyboards, and he did a lot of flipping. There were some fun little nuggets and info that he shared, and it was a very stream of consciousness. He did give a nice long soliloquy in honor of Richard Citrone at the very beginning when Richard's playing the Kryptonian with Zod. So nice. That was great. He talked up Richard, so I got to text him later and go, hey man, Zach was showing you lots of love. So some of the coolest things that jump out to me, and again, I don't know if it's deep enough for us to do a whole episode, but maybe we will if we need something to talk about. But some of the coolest things was that something I never really noticed is the broken moon of Krypton. He said that was setting up Doomsday, which I never made that connection. So that was actually kind of the neatest thing that I went, oh wow, yeah, I never really thought of that. He talked a lot about the design aesthetics and how, he wanted it to be very Art Nouveau on Krypton and things like that. I'm just trying to think of other cool tidbits that he shared. I know there were, but obviously I'm very distracted with everything that's going on. He talked about, certain shots that were really hard. Talked a lot about stuff that we already knew, but we got more info on about how hard it was to have the CG created armor. That's always blown my mind because it looks so real. He talked us through the movie. He talked a lot about where they shot and what was a set and what was CG and what was green screen. As always, gave a lot of love to his cast and crew, to Henry Cavill, to Amy Adams. Talked again about Amy Adams's aversion to helicopters and how they had to take a helicopter for, I think it was the shot in the Arctic where she gets found after Superman saves her life, or Clark before he becomes Superman saves her life. And how unhappy she was to be in the helicopter, but she did it, and lots of just interesting things. How they used the set of essentially the Jor-El and Lara's house chamber. They used it as a skateboarding park until someone fell and hurt themselves, and then they couldn't anymore. So yeah, there was lots of neat stuff, but again, most of it just cute little anecdotes and tidbits, nothing mind-blowing where you go, oh my god. For me, that the biggest thing was that he was already thinking Doomsday. And a lot of the other Easter eggs that we already knew about, the Wayne Industries satellite, the LexCorp trucks and things like that. I will say though, with a movie, those it shocks me how subtle he left those Easter eggs. You have to be looking for them because it's really easy to miss them.
The Lex truck I spotted, I thought it was kind of obvious, but the Wayne satellite, it wasn't until my second viewing after I'd heard all the buzz and everything about it that I spotted that.
Yeah, and they're quick though. They're so quick. But yeah, I mean, it's interesting. He kind of... Something I noticed about him, and the same thing with Batman versus Superman, is he doesn't really tackle any controversial decisions head on. You know, he never really calls them out and goes, hey, I know this bugs some people and here's why. He never does that. He just sort of, he talks through it and he gives a little bit of justification, but it was just interesting how he never really did that. And it wasn't until Deborah joined him that she called out like, oh, this was a controversial moment. And he never says anything like that, which is interesting. You know, I think in BVS he said it a little more, but in this one he really didn't. But yeah, like it was during the killing of Zod, where Deborah goes, yeah, this was controversial. And again, Zack just kind of gave his justification. He's like, well, you know, you can argue all day if Superman would or would not do this, but he's making a choice, you know, and he's choosing us. And Deborah was saying that too. And he goes, plus it's about him now being truly alone. Like he's giving up the last bit of his Kryptonian heritage by, you know, because once Zod is gone, he is the only one. And so he talks a little bit about that, which was really, really interesting. So anyway, like there's some good Man of Steel stuff. I do recommend watching it if you're into it. But yeah,
I definitely will. Yeah,
it's definitely worth your time. It's, you know, it's a commentary as always. There's, you know, there's interesting stuff, there's meandering, and it's fine. So that's not why we're here to talk. But I will say I'm glad I watched it. It was fun to watch. It was fun to revisit Man of Steel. I haven't watched it in a little bit. Makes me want to rewatch it again, which is exactly what happened with BVS. And it just reminds me how much I love the movie. But so Deborah joined him sort of for the climax of the movie. So right as like the world engine got turned on, Deborah joined him and came and sat next to him. And I thought that was pretty intentional. I was like, oh, okay, we know the movie's kind of in its last stretch, and here she is, and she's not getting up and leaving. She's staying. So I was like, okay, great. Like, and the whole time I'm like, try not to get your hopes up, but it's too late. My hopes were up, you know? And then right towards the end, it's the scene, I think, in the graveyard where Martha's like, well, what are you going to do when you're not saving the world? Like that. Immediately, they add to the call Henry Cavill. Cool. And so yeah, that was the holy crap moment where I was like, oh my god, that's amazing. It's great they didn't announce it. It was funny because leading up to the watch party, you know, I did see a couple fans be like, oh, I wish we would hear from Henry Cavill, but Henry hasn't said a word. And I think, you know, now looking back, that's intentional, and that's awesome. Like, what a cool surprise. And so Henry talked a little bit, and it was great to have him there and to hear the two of them talk and reminisce a bit. And then as they wrapped up, they're like, oh, we're gonna do a Q&A. And Zack is like, oh, new. Yeah, and I was like, oh, okay. And Zack's like, I'm gonna add a few more people. And in my brain, I went, oh God, he's gonna add the rest of the Justice League cast. They're all gonna be on this call.
That would be amazing.
That was what I was waiting for. And he added all these people, and I was like, I don't recognize any of these people, and I don't know their names either. Who the hell are these people? And like Catherine, even she goes, I'm IMDbing them. No, they're not anybody. I'm like, okay, I think they're just fans. And so yes, they added like 10 fans to the call to do Q&A. And so you know, a few of the fans asked some questions about Man of Steel. You know, there was some good stuff there. I really liked, like, he talked a lot about, like, the Superman suit and how much thought they went into what is the suit, how does it work, like, why are they wearing it, and again, you'll get to it. And finally, a young lady, her name was Danny, she's like, oh, I'm going to ask the mother of all questions, is when will you release the Snyder Cut? Mm-hmm. And he's like, and everybody was like, oh, and it was funny because a lot of the fans were wearing like Zack Snyder's Justice League t-shirts or Superman t-shirts, which was neat. And I was like, again, I was kind of waiting for someone to address it, but no one did. Then until this fan Danny asked the question, and Zack and Deborah sort of danced around it for about 5 minutes, and Zack's like, listen, like I'd love to release it, I've got it, but it's not up to me to release it. Like, that's not my decision. And he's like, and of course I'd love to do it, but we have to wait and see what happens. And he kind of hemmed and hawed about it a long time. And then Deborah said, he goes, Debbie, what do you think? And she's like, well, same. Like, obviously we were on a journey with these characters, and we were trying to bring all these characters together in this hero's journey for all of the characters, and we wanted to get them to a place of the heroes that we all know, and we never really got to do that, and it's a shame. So I'd love for people to be able to see what we had in store. And so that was sort of her take, and then they threw it over to Henry, and Henry sort of like took 2 steps back and talked about how Man of Steel changed his life and what a great experience was for Man of Steel. And I was like, and at that point I was like, they're really dancing around it. Maybe they're not ready to announce anything.
They're being very like politician answers.
Yeah, because honestly, like I expected it a little bit, but they vamped for so long and danced around it for so long that I was like, oh shit, maybe they can't, like maybe it's not time yet. Maybe they still have to work out another deal or something. And so I was starting to like get ready to be disappointed of like, oh crap, like they're not going to be able to, we all got excited and it's not going to happen. And so eventually Henry got back to Justice League because he talked mostly about Man of Steel. And then he eventually was like, he goes, yeah, and as for Justice League, it'd be nice if people could see it without the mustache. And that was really... that was really what he said. Like nobody threw shade at Joss Whedon or the theatrical cut or anything. They just it was more about, yeah, we would love people to see what we had planned and the culmination of what we wanted to do. And at a certain point, I think Henry even said, the final part of the trilogy, if it had gotten to be the trilogy that we wanted, so they were respectful but honest. And yeah, Henry was just like, yeah, people want to see Superman without the mustache. And Zack's like, yeah, or whatever the heck was going on up there. And so it was pretty nice the way they handled it. But again, I was like, shit, like they're being politicians about it. And then Henry's like, well, Zack, I think you should just show it. And Zack's like, well, I can't show the movie because it's not even done, there's a lot of work that needs to be done. He goes, but here's what I can show you. And that's when he pulled up the photo of the Justice League. It was the Comic-Con photo from a couple years ago in black and white, and it said Zack Snyder's Justice League coming to HBOMax 2021. And now you've seen it, and all the fans on the Zoom call all started clapping and gasping, and I was doing the same. And so it became official in that moment. Zack Snyder put that up, and they're like, okay. And Zack even goes, it's not going to be till 2021. There's still a lot of work that needs to be done on it. But we're really excited about it. We're excited we'll be able to bring it to you. And so, yeah, it was official. It was very exciting. And so that was kind of where they left it. And everybody signed off one by one until it was just Zack left. And then, like, they hadn't turned it off for a second. So, you kind of heard them go, oh, that went okay. That went good. All right, yeah. Oh, wait, are we still live? Oh, wait, crap. And then they, they finally turned it off.
That wasn't half planned.
And so at that point, HBO Max did an official tweet with the announcement. AT&T did an official tweet with the announcement. Warner Brothers did an official tweet with the announcement. The Justice League page did. Batman vs. Superman page did. They all started, as soon as that happened, all the officials started coming out. And in addition to that, The Hollywood Reporter released sort of the backstage story of how it all came together. So you could tell that The Hollywood Reporter had this thing just sitting, and their cursor was over publish.
Well, so did our friend Mark.
Yeah,
because his Forbes was the first one I saw.
Oh, really?
And that was literally as the news broke. Because again, given the timeline you just told, I reckon I woke up literally as he just panned across. Because, I mean, Mark's story on Twitter was posted when I woke up. It had only been posted for 1 minute. And with all the official tweets from Warner Brothers and AT&T and that sort of stuff, I'd been awake for a good 10 or so minutes by the time that started happening.
Okay. So yeah, very interesting. I have a lot of questions. Well,
but
okay. First thing
very excited though.
Yeah, first thing I gotta say is awesome. Awesome.
Yeah. Oh hell yeah. Very
and we've always said that we'll be the first ones in line to watch this if it ever came out, but it was one of those things also that Justice League became such a controversial thing that we didn't want to enter the fray, honestly. So I will say, to everyone who fought for this in a respectful and honorable way, I say congratulations.
Definitely.
To those people. And for every fan who looks forward to it, or who is looking forward to it, who's excited about it, I think awesome, because I'm one of them. I can't freaking wait. And now I'm like,
oh hell yeah.
is this now my most anticipated movie of 2021? It might be.
We've got essentially two Batman movies coming out next year.
Yeah. So no, I think it's amazing news. It's great news, and congratulations to Zack and Deborah Snyder. You know, like the way things went down was so disappointing and so shitty, and it's such a shame. And I'm so glad that the current landscape, you know, the planets aligned in a way that allowed this to happen in such a timely manner. Because, you know, it's one of those things where we always felt like, oh, you know, like maybe in a few years time or maybe in 20 years, like eventually we'll see something. But like, does Warner Brothers really want to stir it back up? But because of HBO Max and because, you know, and because obviously anytime that, you know, there's stories about the Snyder cut, and you know it got traction. People were interested on one side or the other, but people were interested. It was a hot topic, and so like to lean into that and just go. And plus, guess what? Like, and here's the reality of it: is right now nobody's in production, and
that's true.
Next year, people need content, and where's that content going to come from? And so here, WB has a whole huge chunk, a huge chunk of content that people really, really want to see that is already shot, and all of the post-production work that needs to be done on it can be done in quarantine. It can all be done from home because they're not going to go shoot it. I mean, I assume they're not going to go shoot anything. Let me say it that way.
See,
so
this was one of my questions.
Yeah.
If I can just interrupt really quickly. If my memory serves, wasn't his version only 80% shot?
Well,
when the whole thing happened,
there was I have to go back.
I
don't remember. I remember there was going to be reshoots, but we don't know the extent of that. And we knew that Zack Snyder himself said that there was a 5-hour assembly cut.
Okay.
So he said that, and then there was also a 4-hour additional cut that he had done, and then he had done a 2-hour and 20-minute cut that he screened for WB.
Right.
So,
okay, so there's
that means that
more than enough content there.
Yes, there was more than enough footage that he had a 5-hour cut of the movie. I mean, maybe during that he did say, oh, I wish I could reshoot that, or oh, I'd love a scene where Bruce and Diana talk about this, or whatever. You know, like maybe he did have a wish list for reshoots, but obviously there is enough shot that he had a 5-hour cut of the movie at a certain point. Mm-hmm. So... Cool. This is why. Did you read the Hollywood Reporter article?
I haven't gotten to that yet. No.
You should.
we jumped on here pretty quickly.
Yeah, you were too busy tweeting and messaging about it. Like this Hollywood Reporter article is actually really, really good because it gives you the whole story. And so it's on Heat Vision. It's written by Boris Kitt. And so it says it'll debut in 2021, and they haven't decided yet whether it's going to be the 4-hour director's cut of the film or 6 separate chapters, like a mini-series.
I guess I'd prefer the one where we get more content. The more the better.
I actually would prefer the chapters. Isn't that weird?
Yeah. I'm the same.
And here's why: is because I will get more. I think that way. Like, and I want him to take his 5-hour assembly cut and cut it into 6 chapters. Yeah.
Yeah, like we can enjoy it week for week, you know.
Yeah, and then I'm sure there will be some sort of digital or physical release where it's all cut together anyway. But like, and it also from a business perspective makes sense to cut it into chapters. You know, like because then they're getting whatever a month and a half if it's weekly or 2 months or whatever. Like they're getting more. HBO Max is getting more bang for their buck if they stretch it out like that instead of just
6
dropping
weeks worth of content.
Yeah, instead of dropping one 4-hour movie that everybody's going to watch the first week, if you drop it in over 6 weeks, or again if it's bi-weekly or something over 12 weeks, you just get more for your money that way. So, and again for me, I feel like then I'm going to see more footage that way, and I'd rather see more footage.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, agreed.
So this thing is really interesting. So do you remember last November, we did talk about it. It was the second anniversary, November 17th, when there was the organized Twitter campaign of release the Snyder Cut. And it was probably the biggest single day of that, because that was when Gal Gadot actually tweeted her support and Ben Affleck tweeted his support. So apparently that day did make Warner Brothers go, you know what? Let's do it.
Oh, shit. Okay.
So, hey, like, amazing, right? So apparently...
it's so funny. I'm learning all this as you're talking. This is really cool.
And so the next day, the Snyder's agent called them at 7 a.m. And said, hey, you know, would you be interested in finishing the cut? And so it was Toby Emmerich, who is the chairman of Warner Brothers. He acknowledged it and he said, it's real. People out there want it. Would you guys ever consider doing it? And so they agreed to it. And so this conversation happened in November. And it is now.
So he's done the BVS watch party and stuff in that time. Like,
yes.
Yeah, they've been sitting on this for a while. Yeah.
Well, and then in hindsight, when he ended the BVS watch party, before, you know, like ending it right before he said Justice League, he wasn't like, at the time we're like, is it because he doesn't want to talk about it? Is it because he can't talk about it? But now we know he was building us to this.
Oh yeah, he was teasing us.
Yeah. And so. So it says right now it's unclear if it'll be a 4-hour director's cut or 6 different chapters. It's going to be decided. But Zack and Deborah Snyder are reassembling the post-production crew to score, cut, and add new and finished visual effects, and maybe even bring back some actors to record dialogue.
Yeah, because that was going to be another question, is just like with post-production and everything, you know, are we going to see... I mean, I'm not saying would we see Affleck in costume and stuff, but like they're going to have to be involved on some level, even if it's really minuscule.
It might just be, like ADR, we need some new recordings of dialogue, certain lines that got muffled or whatever. Like, yes, that sort of thing makes perfect sense. But it sounds like Warner Brothers / HBOMax, I mean, they're all the same thing. They're going to spend between $20 and $30 million to do this.
Wow.
So,
I can't believe, I was still trying to get my head around it. It's just, who would have thought?
Yeah. So this also says Zack Snyder still has not watched the theatrical cut of the film. But he said, by all accounts of everything he's heard, you probably saw about 1/4 of what I did.
Oh, wow.
And he always said that, I figured, kind of like what we said is, maybe in about 20 years, there'll be a documentary and then people will know what we were planning. But that's kind of what he figured it was going to be. And then Deborah Snyder says, she goes, with the new platform and streaming services, you can have something like this. You can't release something like this theatrically, but you can with a streaming service. It's an opportunity that wasn't even there 2 years ago.
It's true.
Which, I mean, again, it makes so much more sense in this landscape with HBO Max and everything. Like, it makes perfect sense.
Yeah.
So...
You know what?
Oh, go ahead.
Oh, go ahead.
No, please, go.
I was just going to say, the thing that I was... if it wasn't Justice League related, was about a week or so ago, the news was starting to come through that the WB was shelving their plans to launch a Supergirl franchise, in favor of potentially, bringing Cavill back into the role and continuing that story. I was thinking that, maybe that could have been an announcement that we were going to see today. Like, potentially it wasn't a Justice League thing, but hey, look, we're allowed to continue our Superman story and Henry's coming back. So yeah, when I first woke up, the first thing I saw was a tweet that said it could be up. I think it said it could be 2 or 3 movies. And I thought, oh shit, it's Man of Steel 2, like Cavill's coming back. And then, 10 seconds later, I was like, oh no, it's actually Justice League. So I do wonder if the interest is there. Well, I mean, the interest is obviously there, but if this goes well and Cavill does still want to continue the role, this could be the thing that could push Warner Brothers over to be like, hey, maybe we're not done with Henry. Maybe we can, get him back on the big screen.
Yeah. And I think that him being a part of the announcement and being part of the watch party is really good news because, he's sort of been separated for a bit and everybody's sort of wondered what that meant. And then you're right, there were rumors maybe a few weeks ago about, like now they're looking at the possibility of another Superman film and they might be considering Henry, but we don't know how much, so there was a lot of question marks around that. But I think that this only helps his chances, absolutely, which I think is great. Like I want him to come back. I think he's great.
Yeah.
So yeah, like it was, and I've heard it's, I've seen lots of like conflicting rumors of like, oh yeah, they were open to it. And then it was like, oh, talks broke down again because he still wants too much money. And who knows how true any of that is. But, apparently there was negotiations and it was very unclear whether or not and it's still unclear whether or not he's going to play Superman again. But I think that this bodes well for that possibility more than I think the possibility is better now than it was 2 months ago.
Yeah, definitely. It's exciting, man.
Yeah.
It's very exciting.
So here's the timeline is that in January of 2017, Zack Snyder had a 4-hour version of the film that he considered the best version of the movie. So January 2017, that's 11 months before release.
Yeah.
But he knew the studio wouldn't release a 4-hour version, and so he delivered a rough version that was approximately 2 hours and 20 minutes. This was the first cut that the studio saw. So the studio didn't even see the 4-hour version. They saw the 2-hour, 20-minute version. They agreed there was a lot of work to be done before November, and then that was when Snyder's daughter died. And so a month and a half after Autumn passed away, that was when Zack officially stepped away from the movie. And again, this is all coming from the Hollywood Reporter. And so that was when Whedon was brought in, and then they reshot so much of the movie. And so here's a question, and I don't want to go down a rabbit hole, but I'm so curious because it's well known that for a director's name to be on a movie, he has to have shot 51% of the movie.
Yep.
Which is why Richard Lester had to reshoot a bunch of Superman 2 because the Directors Guild rules. For him to be the director, he had to reshoot a bunch of stuff that Donner had already shot just because now he directed it, and so then that his name could be on it. So if only 25% of the footage in Justice League is Zack Snyder's, how the hell did they get away with putting directed by Zack Snyder on the credits?
I mean, unless it was an out of respect thing because of what happened to his daughter. Maybe
but I don't even think it's that
want
because
the credit?
It can't be that. Like it's literally they're union rules. It's not like, oh, we don't have to do that because we want to be nice. No, like it's union rules. This is the rule. You have to have shot this much of the movie to get a directing credit. So I don't understand how they got around that, which is so shady. And I wonder if someone knows. Like I kind of want to find out.
I'm
but
sure someone knows.
Yeah, like that's so crazy because Joss Whedon essentially made a whole movie in 9 months?
Thereabouts.
And using a couple of things that were handed to him. But okay, so here's where things get. Some people are going to be pissed about this, but okay, whatever. This is what I'm reading what it says for Hollywood Reporter. It says, "Forget that the version that fans wanted technically didn't exist." So there was the whole debate of it exists, no, it doesn't. It exists, no, it doesn't.
Oh, I'm very familiar.
So essentially, both sides were right, depending on how you define exists. Okay? Mm-hmm. So it says, what existed was an unfinished work with no visual effects and no post-production. One person who had seen the version described it like a car with no panels, just a drivetrain and some seats. And it was on a hard drive in the Snyder's house. And this is what Zack said. He said, when we left the movie, I just took the drive of the cut on it. I honestly never thought it would be anything. So, yes, like it was not releasable.
Yeah.
And again, to the fact that they're going to spend $20 to $30 million to re-edit it, rescore it, do all the effects work, do all the post-production. So none of the post-production was done. Like he had cut together the footage, and I'm sure that there was like temp effects and animatics and things like that for the larger effect sequences. And so anyway, take
some cyborg running around in his pajamas.
Right, exactly. So a cut existed, absolutely, but a releasable cut, no, by Zack Snyder's own admission here. And so anyway, so they said they dealt with the family stuff and they had a lot, they were really focused on that. But then on the 2-year anniversary, when everything hit, apparently released the Snyder Cut was the most tweeted hashtag about a movie that WB has ever made. Wow. And it's about a movie that never got released. Snyder says, it's weird, but it's cool. And so they said,
he's got to feel humbled.
Yeah. And they said after the phone call, they began to figure out how they could finish the movie. And so he said, we had to figure out, this is Deborah Snyder said, we had to figure out what it meant to finish it and how do you pull it off. So they put together a presentation in February and invited a group of executives from WB to show the little scene version in black and white. And so there were more than a dozen executives in attendance, including Toby Emmerich, Carolyn Blackwood, Walter Hamada, Courtney Valenti, Kevin Riley, Sarah Aubrey, Sandra Dewey, and DC's Jim Lee.
Interesting.
And so heads of production were there to assess what had to be done and how much it would cost to finish it.
Huh.
And so after the screening, Snyder outlined his ideas for not just releasing it, but also doing episodes and cliffhangers.
Oh. You know what sort of grabbed my attention there, and I could be reading into it way too much, is the fact that you said it's black and white.
Mm-hmm.
And all the promotional images we've seen today are black and white.
Mm-hmm.
Do you think it would be released in black and white, or do you think it would be?
Not. No.
Yeah.
I think it's because what he showed them was was a version of the assembly cut, and often that's not color graded or color corrected, and so it was easier to watch it in black and white. Cool,
because I'm with you. As much as I'd be happy to see it in any form, I would much prefer, obviously, beautiful color.
Yeah. Me too. And so then they were like, okay, we think we have a plan. And then COVID-19 hit, and Deborah Snyder said that they thought maybe they would put it on the back burner. But she said, no, we need to do it now because visual effects houses rely on work. And right now they don't have any work. So let's do it now so we can help them out, which I think is actually kind of awesome.
Yeah, that's cool.
And they said that a lot of the post facilities had some of the original assets from the movie. And so they spent April and May reaching out to the cast, giving them a heads up on this and letting them know that their services may be needed.
Excellent.
It says there's no schedule going forward because now they're beginning with the post-production houses, but that gives HBOMax plenty of time to find the best way to present this version of Justice League. And then Snyder also is on post-production on Army of the Dead for Netflix, which comes out next year too.
It's just insane.
Yeah. And so the Snyders, they said, this is again Deborah, she said, this movie was the culmination of a hero's journey that all these characters went on, and the idea was always to build them up to be the heroes people expected them to be. And then they also, they said it'll contain many elements that Zack has teased, including Darkseid, and again, I think this is Deborah said, what's so lovely about this is that we get to explore these characters in ways you're not able to in a shorter theatrical version. So again, that speaks to including everything. So more character development, which is great.
Long form storytelling.
Yeah. And so Zack Snyder said clearly this wouldn't be happening without the fans. And he also credits Warner's for living up to its old reputation as a filmmaker's studio.
I mean, look, full credit to him, because 2 years ago, it looked like this was never going to happen. And Warner Brothers were, I don't want to say kind of being dicks about it, but...
Well, they just didn't want to talk about it, It was like this huge black eye that it's like, please stop asking me about my black eye. And yes, it was somewhat self-induced, so which is its own thing, but it was this huge tentpole movie that they spent a king's ransom on twice, and so they wanted to just leave it, and so, but... The fact that so many people wouldn't just leave it, and so many people stood up for Zack, good on them for letting a little time pass and then going, you know what, let's do the right thing and let's get it out there.
Yeah, what's funny is I was as I was working from home yesterday, I started listening to a podcast called Hot Takes with Billy Business. I don't know if you're aware of it or not, but there was an episode that was only recorded last year on Justice League, and the thing that was actually really nice and a nice change was hearing the episode. He and his guest, they talked about the theatrical cut pretty much the same way you, Jamie, and I did when we first talked about it. Like, they acknowledge that yes, it's got its problems and stuff, but it's nowhere near as bad as its reputation would have you think it is. It's a decent, fun movie, and I was so happy that Billy actually said, watching it makes me think of the 2001 animated series. It feels like a live action version of that, and that's exactly what I said when we recorded our roundtable review of it. To me, it feels like a Justice League cartoon brought to life. And I'll be honest, and I know it's not a popular opinion, I've always enjoyed watching the theatrical cut. I've watched it maybe 6 or 7 times now since it was released, and you know what? I have a good time watching it every time. It's just that feeling in sort of the back of my head or in my stomach when I watch it going, oh, I'm not supposed to like this, and there's meant to be this better version out there and everything. But man, I like the theatrical cut. I really do. Is it the version we were meant to get? No. But hey, I can still enjoy it. And listening to that podcast yesterday, it made me really want to watch it again. I haven't watched it since I think maybe July, August last year. And now this has happened, less than 24 hours later. So it's really exciting. It's a really exciting time.
Yeah, no, I mean, and I we've talked about it before. I feel the same way. I know Jamie does as well, is that, we like the theatrical version. My biggest problem with the theatrical version is you can see the seams, and I said that on opening night, but those seams have only gotten more apparent in rewatches because now I'm just so aware of them. And that's the biggest problem, is that it's a Frankenstein of a movie, and you can see it if you're paying attention, and that's a bummer. But I still think it's entertaining, and I like watching it. So, I know a lot of people don't agree, but, at the same time, I've always wished that Zack Snyder was allowed to finish his story. And I'm so glad that this is going to be out there to see. And again, in a format that allows him to tell more of his story, where he doesn't have to make a bunch of cuts where he's like, oh, I want to leave it in, but got to get it to 2 hours and 20 minutes, so they can have more screenings every day. Like, I love that we're going to get more content because of this. I love that HBO allows the opportunity to do that. And I also think it's just really smart business. Again, you've already got something sitting there that people are dying to see. And for a $20 to $30 million investment, whatever it might be, somewhere in there, they get this huge high profile movie or or very expensive limited series, whatever it ends up being, to show. So it makes sense for all parties involved. And so I feel like this is sort of an everyone wins thing. It's making lemonade out of the lemons of what happened with the production of Justice League. And so I think that's awesome. And I cannot freaking wait to see it. I wish we didn't have to wait till 2021, but it'll go fast. And so, yeah, I couldn't be more excited than if we were getting a new movie.
Yeah. I mean, look, I'm still getting my head around it. I mean, I literally woke up at 4:00 to this news, and the fan in me is really excited. I just had a thought while you were talking, and I know this is going to sound stupid, but like, I bought an official Justice League T-shirt in November 2017, and I'll be honest, because of the way the world reacted when that movie came out, I haven't worn it since November 2017. But I'm gonna find that thing, and I'm wearing that today, my friend, with a big, proud smile.
I have one as well. I don't know if it's the same one. It's the one that's the poster. That's sort of the Alex Ross version of the poster. No,
mine's. I'll show you a photo later when I'll post it.
Well, I shouldn't say it's the Alex Ross poster, or it's the Alex Ross style poster. Of all of them.
Yes.
And. Yeah, I mean, but I have worn it since then because I don't care. I'm gonna wear it. But yeah, so I mean, it's so great that this is happening. I couldn't be more excited. I'm glad it happened, and again, it makes sense for everyone. I cannot wait to see it, and so yeah, right now, like, let's just be excited for Zack Snyder, be excited for the fans. It'll be so fascinating to see all these things finally come together. And like, what'll be also so interesting is over the, for the past 2.5 years, we've heard so many, this is what was going to happen in that, this is what was going to happen. And some of it has been confirmed, some of it hasn't. So it'll be nice to finally put some of that to rest of like, oh yeah, this this really was what was going to happen, or oh, who the hell said that? Like that's not in here, because like there's been a lot of that over the past couple years. So no, like I mean, again, kudos to everyone involved for and for WB for kind of owning this mistake and finding a way to make it doesn't make it all the way right, but it's a step in the right direction.
Because that's the other thing too. Like, I mean, in the last 2 years, all the stuff that Zack would just randomly post on Vero that would just keep stoking the fire and stuff. Like, I gotta imagine WB were a bit like, dude, shut the hell up. Can you like they couldn't have been too happy with it.
Yeah. I think that's
particularly the old. Maybe too. It was the old guard with Kevin. I can never pronounce his surname. Who got let go. Yeah, like I don't know. I feel like maybe that was the old guard that were the way that they are, and now this new crew have come in and they're just like, hey, let's own it, let's release it and give the fans what they want, which I will say briefly, I don't want to touch on it for too long, but I'm very excited for this movie. I don't want there to be a negative precedent set by this, of certain elements of not everyone, like you said at the start, not everyone was negatively campaigning for this movie, but there were some out there, and like I said, I posted on Real Fans before, entitlement isn't a nice color on people, or a sense of entitlement isn't a nice color on people, and I see it every day in my work, and it's not an attractive quality. So I hope the right lessons are learnt from this in the fan community. Probably won't be, but that's all I'll say about it. And I know that and our listeners will know exactly what I mean when I say that. I want this to be a positive experience and not have a negative precedent in the future moving forward.
Yeah. Well, and I think, I mean, I agree with you. And I think that to that point, though, something I guess I'd like to say too is like, this has happened. Like, so for everyone who was fighting for this, like, again, congrats, awesome, be excited, be happy that it's happening, that you're getting what you want, you're getting what you fought for. But don't take this opportunity to now go attack everyone who said it didn't exist 2 years ago, or someone who didn't support it the way you supported it, who didn't tweet the hashtag as much as you tweeted the hashtag. Like, I'm seeing a lot of that, of like, because of this, like there's still this division in fandom of kind of the pro and the con of the Snyder Cut, who are still using this as an excuse to go after each other. And I'm like, no, don't do that. Like, if you fought for this and you're excited about this, then like, enjoy the win and celebrate it and be excited, and we're getting it, and that's great. Don't use this as an opportunity to go after other people again. And if you were against this, or or you don't want to see it, or you don't care, or you're convinced it's going to be bad, don't use this to be horrible to the people who do want to see it. Like, stop using this as an excuse to fight. Stop using this as an excuse to be shitty to each other. Like, take the win or take the L, but either way, like, it's happening. Be excited if it's happening. But like, I'm just seeing too much of that too, of like, people are like, I've been part of the movement since day one, and some of you bastards just jumped on the band. And I'm like, no, like, who cares? Like, who cares? Let it go. It's happening. Great. Celebrate that it's happening.
Yeah, I'm just happy you used a sports analogy. That's amazing. But
so no, I mean, again.
No, man, I totally agree.
Yeah, like it's just so much fighting and pettiness, and it's just so exhausting. And this shouldn't be that, And that's one thing that, like, even Zack Snyder and what I've always loved about him is this is a dude who's just, by all accounts, just a very kind person, and like. In the midst of all this, he's always preaching, like, treat people with respect, treat people with kindness. And so I would just reinforce that of like, treat people the way Zack has asked us to treat people, whether or not they want to see his version of Justice League.
You know what? I was thinking something very similar when you were talking about, pardon me, Deborah saying that, we need to give this to the effects houses now and everything because they need work. As you were telling that story, I was just thinking, man, I don't give a shit whether you like the content they produce or not, but the Snyders are lovely people.
Oh, without a doubt.
They just seem so nice. And, I mean, your interaction with Zack that day, like, he could have been a prick.
Yeah.
But he was so lovely.
Well, I mean, and again, it speaks so much to the cast and crew who work with him. They work with him on every single movie because he creates this really great environment to work in, and he's just, and again, he's just by all accounts one of the nicest people to ever work with, and I can see it. I can see it on these live streams, and again, my brief interaction with him, but and then just anecdotally from people who know him far better, who have worked with him. Like it's
like rocking up at Comic-Con in the Batmobile for the whole H line and everything. Like, I mean, yes, obviously he's got something to promote, so he's gaining from it, but that seems more like something that would be like, hey, wouldn't it be cool if we did this? Not because he needs to promote a movie, because that's going to happen anyway, but because he loves the fans.
Right, exactly. Like
Let's give them something special for sitting out overnight to come and see what we have to show them.
Yeah. And, and I believe, like, they have 8 kids. And I think 1 or 2 are biological, but then they've adopted a bunch of kids too. And again, like, when you're successful and you have the means to help out people and to expand your family, like, I just feel like there's a kindness in that of like opening your home and not hoarding your wealth, but making a home for people who need it, like, and just have, continuing to adopt children, I just think also speaks a lot of their character. And I don't know, I have a lot of respect for that.
Yeah, no, definitely agree.
So, no, I think it's awesome. Again, like whether or not you liked what he was doing with those characters, I'm glad that he gets closure in one way or the other. He gets to finish up this story the way he wants to do it. And Warner Brothers is backing him to do it. Thank God. And we as fans get to benefit from that, and we get to see it. And I can't wait. I'm so excited, but I have to be patient now. But for right now, I'm just riding the high of excitement.
Yeah. Ditto.
Jamie is working. Did I already say this? But he did share his quick 1-sentence reaction.
No, you haven't actually.
I forgot. We got caught up. But his 1-sentence reaction was, "It's about damn time for a number of reasons." And I'm sure on the next normal episode he'll be able to share more. But that was his reaction, and that sounds like Jamie.
Yeah. No, it'd be interesting. Like the next BatCast when we're all together. Hopefully we'll be able to, talk a little bit more, and there might even be some more news by then.
Yeah. I can't wait to find out more. And again, maybe it's the unpopular opinion, but I hope we get 6 episodes. Like, I'm into that. I think that can be rad as hell. So awesome. Well, and I like Zack Snyder's Justice League more than the Snyder Cut. So Zack Snyder's Justice League, we're going to see it next year, and it's going to be awesome.
Yep. Man, I can't wait. I'm so excited.
Yeah, me too. So, again, like, for everybody who's psyched for it, man, like, awesome. Celebrate this day. Be excited. I don't know how productive I'm going to be today. Much like when he dropped that first photo of Ben Affleck as Batman with the Batmobile. Wasn't very productive that day because I was so busy just geeking out about that. I'm kind of doing the same thing here, which is why I'm still in my pajamas. But yeah, so
I was lucky it was a rostered day off for me that day, but now I start working about 2.5 hours. So.
Oh man, I'm so sorry. Do you do coffee? You don't really do coffee, do you?
I don't do coffee, no. I'll be fine.
Okay, well, yeah. Ride the excitement to stay awake for work and then crash tonight.
Yeah, definitely.
So one last thing I do want to mention before we completely wrap up is, a lot of people who work with Zack Snyder, his collaborators, his friends have shown their support on Twitter and everything. So, Ray Fisher has, Clay Enos, David Ayer, but Joe Manganiello as well. So Joe Manganiello sent out a tweet that I think is worth mentioning real quick, and it just says, "The original end scene, .. And then he put the emoji of the swords, the bat, and a skull. So he's also teasing what that original final scene with Deathstroke was. So that will be interesting. I do wonder if it was a setup for the Affleck solo Batman that then we will again not get any sort of absolution for. But for now, like, it'll be interesting to see what that is too.
Yeah. Look, I don't want to speculate. This is just purely me dreaming here, but could you imagine if this thing was like so well received, and despite, you know, Matt Reeves and everything else, if Warner Brothers like, Ben, here's an absolute truckload of money, please come back and make a movie.
I know.
I mean,
I know.
it's never going to happen, but could you imagine?
I'm not even going there, honestly.
Yeah, no. Be like, Ben, here's a truckload of money, come and do something on HBO Max.
Yeah, I mean, I would love it, but I think this is the closure we're getting. I don't think we're going to get any additional closure. But I'm trying not to go down that road right now. Right now, I'm just focusing on the excitement of this news. But yeah.
That's all it is. It's just me being caught up in excitement.
Sure. All right. Well, anyway, that was the one last thing I wanted to mention. I guess we need to wrap it up so you can, well, probably not even get some rest, but at least get ready for work.
Excellent. Thank you.
All right. Well, cool. So again, Zack Snyder, Deborah Snyder, God bless you, and congratulations. Congratulations. I'm so glad you get to take this across the finish line, and I'm so glad that we get to see it. And yeah, it was just so cool to see Henry be a part of that moment as well. So awesome. Well, everybody, be psyched. Can't wait to learn more. Can't wait to see more, because you know what that means? They're going to drop a trailer at a certain point when it's coming, when they have a release date.
I didn't even think of that.
Yeah, of course. Like, so, you know, and again, how cool is it that they're giving work to the people who right now don't have work because most production is shut down. And it's great.
Yeah. And
right.
two major Batman releases in 2021.
I know, right? It's going to be a bad year. Just got to stay alive. I just got to stay alive at least another year. Well, actually, no, Batman's October, so more than a year. I'm going to stay alive 2 years.
Yeah.
Fine.
2 more Halloweens.
2 more Halloweens, okay. All right, well, no, thanks for jumping on in the middle of the night, Brendan. I appreciate it. And
yeah, early hours of the morning, it's fine.
Yeah, well, I'd say I'd buy you coffee, but I guess I can't, so.
It's a good. Just send me a nude.
Okay, you got it. You didn't say that to be of me.
No, well, I mean, we had to get some sort of homoerotic thing in the episode because it's just you and I, so.
It's expected.
Yeah.
All right, well, until our next official episode, we'll wrap up this one, but tell our friends where they can find you.
You can find me on Twitter at Loey007. You can find my podcast on Twitter at NightlightPod. And on Instagram, I'm at Loey007 as well, so come find me.
Perfect.
Yeah.
There you go. Awesome. Well, I already told you where to find me, but thank you guys for checking out this last-minute emergency episode of Holy BatCast so we could talk about Zack Snyder's Justice League. Amazing. Thank you, as always, for joining us. Thank you. Please do subscribe to the show so you never miss an episode. Please rate and review us on Apple Podcasts. Normally, we do the Wayne Manor mailbox. We didn't for this one, but we'll do it next time. So if you've got anything for that, you can send that to holybatcast@rf4rm.com. But that will do it for now. On behalf of Brendan, I've been Andy. We'll see you next time. Same bat time, same bat channel.
Holy BatCast is brought to you by real fans for real movies. Remember, the thoughts and opinions shared by the participants are theirs and theirs alone, and do not represent the companies or organizations they happen to work for.